I have already made my game week 26 transfer, but with it being a blank game week, a -4 is on the cards for me to be able to field 11 players. So in this video, I'm going to reveal exactly what transfer I have made, and of course, the best captaincy for our FPL team. So as always, make sure you do drop a like and smash that subscribe button. And enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So first up, for a little bit of a recap on how I got on in double game week 25, it was a little bit hit and miss. I ended up getting a really decent green arrow from 145k to 108k, so we're getting closer to that top 100k, and 93 points, usually I will be delighted with that, but it felt like there was a lot of points left on the table. Ake not featuring in that second game for Man City was killer. As you can see, he was my transfer going into the week, so I was really disappointed that he didn't feature. I kind of expected him to be guaranteed for minutes, so you know, I deserve that trying to go against Pep Guardiola with the roulette that he does with this team. Jota, of course, going off early. It felt like there was goals in that Luton game if he was to feature. But of course, we know now that he's out for at least a month. So he's a guaranteed sell for FPL managers, whether it be this game week or next. And Darwin Núñez as well. After that magnificent finish, I was expecting maybe 3 or 4 goals over this double game week. But again, off at half-time with an injury and is now a doubt for the Carabao Cup final, and we don't really know what his status will be come game week 27. So even though we had some decent returns, Haaland finally scored to kind of justify the triple captain, but again, when we looked at his underlying numbers, it could have been so much more. I'm content with the game week. Could have been a lot more. I'm going to say it could have been a lot worse, but it really couldn't have. So happy with the week, a really solid green arrow. But of course, we need to address the situations because Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs and Luton already blank in game week 26. And previously, I had a little bit of a headache on which players to sell. But with the confirmation of Diogo Jota being out for at least a month, selling him makes the logical move. So spoiler alert, I have already sold him. But the big question is, what direction should we go in if we do own Diogo Jota? And for me, it's either Wolves or Aston Villa that we go into. Wolves are a great option for this game week at home against Sheffield United, but are a potential blank for game week 29. Whereas Aston Villa have a good game in 26 at home against Nottingham Forest and a guaranteed fixture in game week 29, as we know. The problem for Aston Villa, the introduction once again of the Europa League. Could we see minutes managed where their squad is already pretty heavily thin due to injuries? And because of that reason, the direction that I want to go in is for Wolves, and accept once the FA Cup games have happened before game week 27, that can then dictate what my chip strategy is. So spoiler alert, I have bought a Wolves player, but let's compare Neto versus Hwang to decide which one's best. So both Hwang and Neto are really popular players going into game week 26, and that is mainly due to the entry point of Sheffield United at home. Now, I'll quickly pop up the fixtures here because we do need to quickly cover them off, and then we will go into the analysis of the two players. But as you can see, Sheffield United at home, Newcastle away, which on paper sounds terrible, but we've seen a lot of teams put up fantastic XG against them. So I'm expecting Wolves to do okay against Newcastle. And then they got Fulham at home before Bournemouth at home in game week 29. But as discussed, we don't know whether that game is going to happen or not until the FA Cup, which will be just before the game week 27 deadline. Now, again, a lot of people are having worries about what to do with their teams. For me, I'm just accepting that I cannot predict what is going to happen in the FA Cup. I want to attack the fixtures that are clearly in front of me, and that is going to be Wolves in game week 26. So I think Wolves are a great investment this week, but of course, it doesn't set you well for game week 29 if all the favourites win in the FA Cup. So look, Hwang versus Neto is the big discussion. I think Sarabia could be a good differential, but I'm leaning towards one of these two. Now, first up, the touch heat map. This is over the course of the season so far, kind of what we come to expect. Neto being the man who was holding the touchline and obviously making those driving runs into the box. Hwang being a bit more central. Of course, the injury to Cunha means that we could see Hwang a bit more central more going forward. He might operate as the centre forward, but usually what we do see from Wolves is quite a fluid front three with Neto, Hwang and previously Cunha, but also Sarabia being introduced into that front three. So the touch sheet maps, I don't think there's anything really major to stand out here. I think Hwang is getting some decent penalty box touches. Neto being on corners, of course, is a big factor. That is another avenue to points. But of course, Hwang we think is going to be on penalties, and that does outweigh any other set piece contribution for players. Now look at the underlying numbers. There is just a very clear narrative here. Hwang is the goal scorer, Neto is the chance creator. You can see that with the XG, 0.41 for Hwang, 0.19 for Neto. Neto, on the other hand, is just the one doing all of the good stuff in the team. You can see that with the expected assists here, 0.32 for Neto, 0.15 for Hwang. And anybody that watches the Wolves games, if you were going just off eye test, Neto is your man. He is everything good about Wolves. Hwang doesn't really get involved in too much with the team, but again, I always want the goal scorer in the teams. Now, Neto, I do think has a really decent ceiling. And when I do watch him, I think this is the guy that I want to own. You only have to watch last week's game against Spurs to kind of get that indication. But Hwang was the one who missed the big chance. And if Neto's doing all the good stuff and laying it on a plate for Hwang, I want the goal scorer at the end of the day. So because of that reasoning, I think both are very, very close. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a classic FPL situation where one gets 2 points and one gets 15. That could be the case, but I always want to go for the goal scorer. So for that reason, I am going to go for Hwang. A bit of a spoiler alert, but anybody that wants to go Neto, do not be discouraged. I still think he is an unbelievable option this game week. So with that concluded, let's get into my game week 26 team reveal. Okay, so first up, the goalkeeper and defence. I've gone for Areola at home against Brentford. I'm not expecting anything, but with Dubravka away against Arsenal, I'm expecting a comfortable Arsenal victory here. So I'm having to play the West Ham keeper. If he doesn't keep a clean sheet, let's just pray for save points. But right now, I can't lie, I've just given up with goalkeepers because they're all terrible, it seems, in the game. Moving into the back three, we've got Ake, Gabriel and Saliba. I've been a long-term double Arsenal defence, and right now it feels like a lot of the community are going towards that, so it feels quite good that I'm ahead of the curve, at least on one thing in the game, and I'm really happy with both of these starting this game week. You can see on the bench that I do have Charlie Taylor. Now, that is a bit of a spoiler alert because I am anticipating to take a -4, which I will mention in this video, but I don't feel too comfortable right now if I were to play Ake and Charlie Taylor and try and field an 11. I don't know right now whether Ake is going to play against Bournemouth. Now, they are potentially going to get some early team leaks before the deadline, so make sure you are tuning into all of the deadline live streams. But for me, if I was in a position where I had to play Ake and Charlie Taylor and hope to play 11, I would be a little bit worried. So I've gone for this back three, bench and Charlie Taylor in order to field 11 with a -4 that I intend to make. Moving into the midfielders, and as you can see, the new boy, Hee Chan, is already in the team. I made that move last night because there were some expected price changes to both him and Diogo Jota. So I thought, while that price is swinging, let's just get it done. Unless anything comes out in the press conferences, which would be really unlucky, then yes, the move was a terrible one. But right now, I'm really happy with it. So Hee Chan comes in for that fantastic home fixture against Sheffield United. I'm not expecting Wolves to score loads in this game. Looking at the Sheffield United's underlying numbers, they're not terrible away from home, but again, I expect Wolves to win, and I expect Hee Chan to be involved in it. Now, the rest of the three I'm more than happy with. Foden away against Bournemouth. Yes, there's always worries about rotation, but until I actually see it, that Foden's going nowhere in my team. Garnacho at home against Fulham. This is the big one. I've had him for a long time. He's ticked over nicely. Of course, I benched him when he got that hat-trick. And not many people are able to get to Man United this game week. So I'm hoping if Man United score a ton against Fulham, who don't have a Palhinha in the team, this could be my opportunity for a huge rank rise. I won't really need anybody else to do well this game week. If Garnacho steps up, that is my real differential. And of course, Bukayo Saka at home against Newcastle. Not only is he, I would say, essential in the game right now, but he's also a captaincy decision that we need to make this week. If he goes up against Dan Burn, oh boy, we could see an unbelievable game from both Saka and Arsenal. So Saka, of course, is in my team, but also I need to think about whether he takes the armband this weekend. But just to conclude, Jota to Hee Chan is locked in. And finally, looking at the forwards, I am debating a -4. You probably have guessed it already, but Darwin Núñez to Solanke is my potential -4. So first up, Haaland away against Bournemouth, absolutely fine. Finally scoring in game week 25. And Ollie Watkins at home against Nottingham Forest. No complaints there whatsoever. And of course, Watkins really important for our teams because he does have a guaranteed fixture in game week 29. So we are keeping him for the long term. And he's just delivering week in, week out right now. So really content with those two. But as I mentioned, Darwin Núñez, if I didn't make this move, it means that I would be starting Charlie Taylor this game week in a 4-4-2 formation. And I just can't have any guarantees right now that he is going to play. hasn't played much for Burnley since he's been injured. Ake is a potential rotation risk, and all of a sudden, I could be fielding 10, maybe 9 players in a blank game week, and that just doesn't really sit well with me. Now, even though I hate -4s, I know this is a move that I need to make regardless. For those that don't know, Bournemouth have Burnley away in game week 27 and double in game week 28, at home against Sheffield United and at home against Luton. It's a transfer no matter what happens. Unless Solanke gets injured, he's coming into my team. So why don't I just take it on the chin this week, -4, get rid of an injured Darwin Núñez for Dominic Solanke. Yes, it isn't ideal. He plays against Man City and I have a Man City defender, but I know I want him in place for game week 27. And I think a lot of the market are going to be moving towards him come game week 27, meaning his price is going to really rise. And I just think having him in the team means I'm going to gain value and have him locked in so I can focus my transfers on other players for the following game week. So even though the Solanke move hasn't been confirmed, I am 90% sure I am going to make that move unless anything comes out in the press conferences today. So moving into captaincy, and this is a really interesting one this week because naturally Haaland being available, I think it's always just a case of we put it on Haaland and we just are done, we're done. But this week is really, really a tough decision because I think a lot of the FPL community are just going to go towards Erling Haaland because he is the obvious pick on penalties, playing in a good team, playing against Bournemouth who aren't necessarily watertight defensively, and just keep it easy. But I think for those that are maybe trying to chase rank or even actually looking at recent information, I do think Bukayo Saka is actually quite an interesting pick. Now, up against a Newcastle team over the last 5 game weeks who have conceded an XG per 90 of 2.02. So they are all over the shop defensively. Forget about the Newcastle of old who were keeping teams out for low chances. This is a team who are struggling right now. And who's one of the worst fullbacks in the league right now? Dan Burn. I don't know if they're going to take him out of the team or not, but regardless, whether it be Dan Burn or Livramento, I think Bukayo Saka has their number. And I do think he is a fantastic option this week. Arsenal are scoring goals. I think previously we were looking at Arsenal and they were winning by a few goal margin. They are really putting teams to the sword right now. And Bukayo Saka is being the heartbeat of anything good. And of course, on penalties as well, a midfielder who gets an extra point for a goal and a clean sheet. And I imagine they probably do keep a clean sheet in this game. So I think we really do need to have more thought on Bukayo Saka as a captaincy this week. I'm not interested by Hee Chan or Solanke or Watkins. I think it comes down between these two. And I think because Haaland's numbers have been so good over the last few weeks, even though he hasn't necessarily been scoring, I am just going to lean towards Erling Haaland, but I do think Bukayo Saka is a top 2 pick, if not joint first with Haaland. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think I need to have a little bit more thought about it, but I think I'm just going to lean towards Erling Haaland just because even in a week where he has missed a lot of chances, he's still getting the highest XG of all players. And sometimes you just want to go for the big man. So I think I'll lean towards Erling Haaland, but I am very, very interested to know if anybody is going for Bukayo Saka this game week. Let me know in the comments. Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's Game Week 26 team selection video. I really hope it's provided some value. As always, let me know in the comment section how you got on in Game Week 25 and what is your intended transfer for Game Week 26. And if you have any final questions, I'll be sure to answer them. Get them in the comment section. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like and smash that subscribe button. That is massively appreciated. Have an amazing day and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers.